Welcome back to One Piece Anime Review, episode 112. Yep, the 102nd episode of the anime. The Yakozuna, the Yokozuna appears. The Invincible Urashima goes after Otaku, and the 955th episode, 55th chapter of the manga, Enma. This episode is adapted from pages 8 to 17 of chapter 915 and pages 3 through 6 of chapter 916. Yeah, not many characters in this episode. No, it's like only 5. Yeah, surprisingly only 5. Yeah, now, the whole point of nothing of this episode, the next one, is basically before that Luffy meets up with Tom. It would take about a couple episodes for it to happen. Yeah. This one starts off with Luffy, Otaku, O-Kiku, where they arrive in Bakura Town, where they're saying they're looking for a little girl, and apparently they try to take him in, and Luffy uses his haki, his Color Supreme King, which Otaku has never seen us before. Not surprising, because this building comes from outside of Wano, so not surprising she doesn't know it. And she asks, like, what was that? He's like, oh, it's haki, Color Supreme King. Well, he does not tell her that's one of several different forms of haki. There's haki of observation, which I think Luffy has that, and I know Usopp has got it, and Heppa, Sabo's got it too. There's also armored haki, which allows him to cover his arms with this black armor, which he hasn't shown her yet. Yep. So basically, and they're just going through town looking for probably one of the headliners of the town. And then all of a sudden they see a sumo wrestler flying right at them. Lucky enough, Luffy catches him. Oh yeah, and he's got a big, huge hand mark on his freaking belly. Yes, a hand mark. Yeah, it's revealed it's from the sumo wrestler from the last episode. Yeah, it was just last episode he was briefly introduced. And we see him, like, apparently he's throwing sumo wrestlers left and right. Apparently by the time Luffy showed up, he basically already knocked out, like, he already threw like 4 of them across town. And he's apparently put in the hospital at least about 20 sumo wrestlers. Which for a sumo organization, that's pretty much like, I would probably say half the frickin' roster. Oh yeah, his rank is Grand Sumo. And eventually, Luffy, Zoro, and Taku show up. Of course, he's asking everybody, like, where can I find one of your bosses? Of course, on the way there, Otaku reveals that the whole town is under the Shogun's influence, and they're also in league with Otama's kidnappers. Okay. So, Luffy, of course, basically, everyone's drawn attention to Otaku. Yeah, and of course, Urashima basically assumes that she's there to accept his marriage proposal. She isn't. So, he sends his goons. Yes, he sends his stable to go after them. And Luffy and Zoro get into a fight with him. Of course, Luffy does use his gum moves, and surprisingly, Zoro does not use his swords. Yeah, surprisingly, Zoro is a very good martial artist. He probably was taught martial arts by a bunch of monkeys during the 2-year time skip when he was fighting with monkeys. So yeah, beats him up for a while. Eventually, Otaku is basically taken, but Zoro can slash somebody who's basically basically half naked. That's kind of true, though. At least they probably cover their genitalia. And of course Zoro's like, and Luffy's like, aren't you gonna go after her? He's like, nah, she can take care of herself. So they take Otaku there. And what does she do? Like he's about like he's gonna embrace her, and then she just jumps up, takes her sword out, slices off his top knot, and then she puts her sword away. And everybody's shocked the fact she did this. Now removing that top knot the way that she did, that pretty much means he's been dishonored. Yes, he not only has been rejected by her, which she rejected him in the first place, he's also been dishonored. Yes, for a samurai, that's actually the source of their honor. They're frickin' top knots. Yes, if that thing is cut off the way she did it, that means he's been dishonored, which means he is no longer a samurai. Oh yeah, and also his hair dropped down because they felt like it. So then he basically is like mad. It's like, you betrayed me. She was never with you in the first place, dude. And then he's about to do his big sumo slap. He's about to hit her. And of course, well, Taka reveals, yeah, you're definitely a man who hit a woman with no problem at all. And then Luffy shows up. He has his own sumo. It's like gum gum sumo slap and stops him right there. And basically that's what the episode ends. Overall, fantastic episode. Love it. Looking forward to next week where it has the fight between Luffy and Urashima, the giant sumo wrestler. My God, I'm not surprised he's this tall because like almost a lot of the characters in the series is freaking tall. This guy looks he's about 20 feet tall. Alright, now to move on to the new chapter of the manga, Enma. We had this little cover image of basically Benj with new ship, like his ship, the fire tank pirates. They apparently have got a new ship, though it's not basically a tank. Their ship was actually destroyed by Big Mom's fleet during the whole Cake arc. Alright, so chapter starts off with Otama basically talking to Kamasaru, asking him to join the others. Now there's a lot that happens in this chapter. And of course then we see Momoshiki shows up in the chapter. And he basically thanks Zoro for actually it's not Otaku. I believe this is Otaku, yes. Yeah, she thanks him basically for saving him. You gotta get your money your past. Who's 18 years older than you? What? A flying kick with 18 years old? Sounds dangerous. Wait, was she the babe I saw you with? Oh, Shiki. Anything I can do for you, little buddy? Yeah, of course he would try to suck up to him. It's his little sister. And then we see the swordsman, yeah. We have Tosama Hitetsu. Yeah, I mean, he disappeared, like, after the first few chapters of the arc. He just recently returned. Yeah, it's been gone for a long period of time. Yep, he basically says he'll make those swords for you. And he shows off his 2 swords. He gives him like another sword. And apparently he mentions that the only person tamed the sword, Enma, was actually Momoshiki's father. Yep. Like, okay, try out Momoshiki the edge. And he ends up size a freaking part of the coastline. Oh yeah, and apparently his arm is basically started to hockey up. His arm basically has become really thin. And he talks to her, hey, give it back, and basically restores his arm back to normal. Like, still covered with armored hockey, but basically the muscle's back. Well, I think he put the bone back in it, so uses to take it down. And then, of course, you have... I'm trying to think, what was his name? I keep forgetting the guy's name. The Momoshiki's retainer. Kinemon, yeah, Kinemon. He gets messages from all over the land. Where this whole chapter is him getting messages like of how much the billings increased. And then we see Frankie. We don't got time. I want to be able to ferry 100,000 men. And I think he's working on. Yeah, I think he's working on fixing up the Straw Hat, the Thousand Sunny. After all, he did build the damn thing. So yeah, so he fixed it up, and of course there's an explosion. Probably it's just Luffy testing out his gear. Yeah, Luffy's gone to gear 4. I'm like, that's a bit early. So basically he's training with that. And you have Zoro training with the sword that was given to him. And of course you get more messages like we've added 200 more. Manpower at 4,200. And of course Luffy falls asleep and you have the adorable Otama basically just laying near him. I wouldn't be surprised she actually went with Luffy and the crew. She might actually stick on board. I'm sure Kara probably stick around after this arc because after all, I'm sure Luffy basically loves having her around. So he probably asked her, "Hey, you want to stick around? You want to stick around my crew permanently?" She's like, "Yes." Yeah, Otama basically, he'd probably take Otama with him, probably to fill a promise that his brother basically said to her. So you have one of the ninjas spying on the shoguns in the capital, and talk about this festival and yeah, and talk about the festival cup raising. Prepare for time to travel and prepare. The important question. And then a nearby village the day before the raid. We're gonna leave first, Sir Luffy. Yeah, in the dub, he refers to her in the sub. He refers to her as Luffy as Luffy Dino. I'm not really sure of why. Well, probably because it's Viz Media, so he probably referred to him as Sir Luffy, even though in the sub he refers to her as his Luffy as Luffy Dino. It's a sign of respect, so Sir Luffy's fine. Of course, this is the Viz Media translation. Like, okay, so he goes, didn't get spotted, though, right? He gets spotted. All right. Preposterous. We've been scouting it. We've been scouting it out. Remember, we're counting you. Go ahead. At the port, then. Yeah, what happened with the Sunny is that Luffy moved the whole ship. He actually can't do this because, well, he can move his arm, move it to a cave, where it's perfectly fine. It's been there since the start of the arc, so it's fine. See, Swordsmith basically making some more freaking katanas. And of course, people just talking about some gangs. See the weapons. We see Kaido's factories, and then we see like the top members of. We have this wonderful like spread of like this 2-page spread of like the top officials in the rebellion. Which is pretty good. They're all like in disguise, thanks to hats made by Otama. So they all go in, and we see Wanda is there. Yes, Wanda. Yeah, from the yeah. This is the first time I've seen her since the Zoo Island arc. Yeah, it's been a long time. Yep, I'm happy the fact she shows up here. And of course, they have a little brief remembrance for Pedro, who actually died in the previous arc. Yeah, he died while basically trying to have him sacrifice himself in order to get the Sunny to get away. And of course, you see that Tama's teacher basically is watching Zoro test out the sword. And we see Luffy using his armored haki to basically punch a bunch of trees to test his strength out. We see they mention Udon and say, well, what's about untrustworthy fools? As long as I think this is the Shogun. Yeah. And then we see Law just basically standing around. And we see the woman from the start of the arc. And apparently, we have now reached the end of Act 2. Okay. And it says, next, the Shogun possessing his past too. And a battle of that effect will fate the very world is about to begin. Wano Act 2 end. Yeah. I mean, it seems like this chapter just preparing for the next act. This arc has been going on officially now because this is chapter 955. This part of the arc, this second act, the first act was like 21 chapters. This act has been going on since chapter 903. Actually, no. It was 928 when it started. When Act 1 and Act 2 started with 929. This is chapter 955. This is roughly like, I think about 27 chapters, I believe it is. Yeah, 27 chapters. Which, okay, doing pretty good so far. The arc itself has been going on now since chapter 909. So, let's see, I think it's about 47 chapters. This arc is eventually this whole arc is going for 47 chapters, almost an entire year. Yeah, so starting next week, we're getting to the third act. Yes, we're starting the third act, which means we're going to end this arc really soon. I mean, if you look at the arc so far, the first act was 20 chapters. This one was 27. Who knows how long Act 2 will be? Act 2, Act 3. Who knows? Who knows when it comes to Oda and how he does the series? Yep. So yeah, that's it for this particular review. I'm going to do one more review next, which will be reviewed News Chapter Case Close. And after that, I have roughly about 3 more videos coming today, which review newest episode Baruto, Dragon Ball Super, and of course another part of Cardcaptor Sakura, which I got 3 episodes left to go to start that review, okay? But this is next view. Bye.